every night in rich countries, like the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia, when restaurants close.
All right, team, time to close up.
Okay, clearing the tables now.
Good, I'll get the lights and lock up. All set, boss.
When office lights turn off, when millions of people go home to sleep, another shift begins. People start lifting heavy machines, scrubbing grease from restaurant floors, unloading massive trucks in freezing warehouses, cleaning industrial kitchens filled with chemicals and steam. These are some of the hardest jobs in modern economies. But here's a question that almost nobody talks about. Who is doing these hardest physical jobs? Is it locals or immigrants? Because the answer might completely change the way you see how modern economies actually work. And when we compare the United States, Canada, the United Kingdom, and Australia, something fascinating appears. Today, we're going to uncover something most people never really think about. We're going to look at 4 of the richest countries in the world and answer a simple but powerful question. Who really does the hardest physical jobs in these countries? And why? And the truth is, much more complex than most people imagine. But before we compare these countries, we first need to look at something most people never see. Let's start with what we could call the invisible shift. Imagine this. It's 11 p.m. A restaurant closes. Customers leave. The lights dim. But the real work is just beginning. Industrial cleaners arrive. They move heavy cooking equipment. They lift massive metal pots. They scrub grease from the floors using machines that weigh dozens of kilos. This work can last 8 to 10 hours. Most customers will never see it. Most customers will never even think about it. But this type of work exists everywhere in modern economy. And that raises an interesting question. Who are the people actually doing these jobs? In the United States, many physically demanding jobs are often done by immigrant workers. You can find them in sectors like agriculture, construction, logistics, restaurant cleaning, truck unloading. These jobs require long hours and serious physical effort. But there's another side of this story that most people rarely see. And it reveals something even more intense about these jobs. Because these jobs are not only physically demanding, they can also be risky. Workers lift heavy equipment for hours. They unload trucks filled with hundreds of boxes. They move containers, machines, and industrial materials. Over time, injuries become common. Back pain, muscle strains, cuts, burns from hot kitchen equipment. Sometimes the body simply cannot keep up. And when that happens, something difficult can occur. If a worker is injured and cannot work for several days or weeks, they may simply be replaced. Another worker takes the shift. The system continues moving. This reality is rarely visible to the public, but it is part of how many industries operate. Now, this is important to understand. This is not about blaming local workers. In many wealthy countries, people grow up with a very different career path in mind. Education systems often encourage office jobs, professional careers, or technology sectors. As a result, physically demanding jobs often receive fewer local applicants. And this is where immigrant workers frequently step in. But something even more interesting appears when we start comparing different countries. When we look at Canada, we see a similar pattern. Many industries rely heavily on immigrant workers, especially sectors like food services, transportation, agriculture, cleaning, warehouse operations. In the United Kingdom, the pattern also appears in several industries. Immigrant workers are often present in hospitality, logistics, food processing, delivery services. But something interesting happens when we look at another country, because Australia shows a slightly different pattern. And that difference helps explain something deeper about how labour markets actually work. In Australia, many physically demanding jobs are still done by local workers, especially in sectors like mining, construction, skilled trades. And there is an important reason for this. Many of these jobs offer very high salaries, which makes them more attractive to local workers. So the question becomes even more interesting. Why do some countries rely more on immigrant labour for these jobs, while others rely more on local workers? To answer that question, we have to look deeper into how modern economies function. In many wealthy countries, younger generations pursue higher education and professional careers. Office jobs, technology jobs, management positions. As economies develop, fewer people choose physically demanding work. But industries like agriculture, logistics, cleaning and construction still need workers. And when there are not enough local applicants, companies often hire immigrant workers. For many immigrants, these jobs become an entry point into the economy. They provide income, they provide stability, and sometimes they provide the first step toward building a new life. But this leads to a fascinating question, one that economists and citizens often debate. Imagine something for a moment. If immigrant workers suddenly stopped doing these jobs tomorrow, who would replace them? Would wages increase until local workers accepted these jobs? Or would some industries struggle to function at all? It's a question that doesn't have a simple answer, and it's one that many countries continue to debate. The truth is that modern economies are incredibly complex. Behind the restaurants we eat in, the packages we receive, and the buildings we live in, there are workers doing extremely demanding jobs every day. Many of them remain invisible, but their work helps keep entire systems running. Understanding that reality helps us better understand how modern societies actually function. Now I'm curious to hear from you. In your country, who usually does the hardest physically jobs? Local workers? Immigrant workers? Or a mix of both? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one.